Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome. My name is Adelina and I make videos about living in this tiny house on wheels and living a more intentional life. It is a weekend morning and I was about to make some breakfast and I thought I should probably film it. What I'm doing actually is a little meal prep. I'm doing some breakfast burritos, most of which I will freeze. They are super easy to make and they're so nice to have on a weekday morning when you're having to go to work. You can take it with you. I wrap them up in parchment paper, and then to heat them up, I take them out usually the night before, put them in the fridge. Take them out of the freezer the night before, put them in the fridge, and then when I'm ready to eat, I grab my George Foreman grill that I bought at the thrift store ages ago, and I can put it right in there in the parchment paper to toast, to heat up, to get warm, and they're delicious. They start with my tofu scramble. I will link the recipe down below for the tofu scramble mix that I make in bulk, I guess. But I also have a recipe of just making a one of tofu scramble. I'll link both of those down below. So it starts with that. Then we add some hash browns and some sausage, some veggies, some cheese. Wrap those suckers up and stick them in the freezer. Super easy to do. I think meal prep is really a great idea for when you have a busy life, and don't we all? So let me show you what the ingredients are for this recipe. All right, we're going to start with our tofu. I'm using extra firm tofu, whatever brand that you like. We're just going to dry it off, but we're not going to press it because we kind of need the moisture in there. So starting with the tofu, this is my tofu scramble mix that I make in bulk, so I don't have to pull out all those spices every single time. And again, I will link that down below. It's basically nutritional yeast, turmeric, curry, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, and some lemon pepper seasoning. That's basically what I put in there. I do have some Kala Namak, which is the Indian black salt, which has a very sulfury, eggy flavor, and that's going to go on at the very end. An onion and a pepper of some sort, whether green, yellow, red, whichever kind you like. Some tortillas. I've got some whole wheat tortillas here. Some hash brown potatoes, the chunky style, not the shredded. I couldn't find the ones I normally buy, so I bought these. They're pre-seasoned, so that's good too. And then some grated cheese. I have a little bit of this Tex-Mex four cheese blend in the fridge, and then this cheddar flavor, the Daya, is the cutting board Dayas are the ones that I like. I like this, and the Violife cheese is the best. Oh, and some plant-based sausage. This is the Beyond sausage. If you can find the Impossible sausage, that's awesome too. Just whatever plant-based sausages you can find, because we're going to put that in. And that is basically it. So let's get to making. Normally I would make my hash browns in my air fryer, but it's going to be noisy, and I don't want to have that noise in the background. So what I'm going to do is put the hash browns on a cookie sheet in the oven at about 375 and let those brown up. And while those are browning, I'm going to season up my tofu. I like to season my tofu in a bowl versus just sprinkling on the seasoning in the pan, because I just find that it absorbs it. It starts to absorb the flavors while I'm doing other things. If you are new to working with tofu, just remember, it doesn't have a flavor. It's a flavor carrier, and that's why normally we would press it to get some of the moisture out so that we could then marinate it. But what we're going to do is crumble it up in this bowl. And then we're going to season it. Crumble it up into the size of scrambled eggs, because that's what we are replacing here in these breakfast burritos. So that's basically what you want. I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of my tofu seasoning mix. Because you want this fairly well seasoned so your breakfast burritos are not bland. We're going to set that aside, and I'm going to chop my onions and peppers, and then we're going to go to the frying pan and we're going to cook things. So let's turn this on low, and what we're going to do is we're going to cook our sausages first, and then I'm going to saute my onions and peppers because I want it to be sort of the sausage crumbles. If you've never tried the Beyond Meat sausages, there's a mild and there's a hot Italian, and they're quite good as a replacement in things that you would have used like a pork sausage in. Better check on my hash browns, looking good. All right, so got the sausage browned. It's not like it needs a ton of cooking. I mean, it's not pork, but you do want the little brown bits because that adds a ton of flavor. Ooh, and I got my second cup of coffee. Very good. All right, so I'm going to add that to this plate here that's got a paper towel on it because I want to absorb, get rid of some of that fat. All right, oops. So I'm going to let that sit, put that aside while we cook our veggies. And in the same pan, there's just a little bit of oil in there. I'm going to turn that back on, and I'm going to add the onions and the peppers. Now, I'm not going to add any more oil. I'm just going to use what's in the pan. Going to add a little water and let that soften a bit until the water evaporates, because what I want to do is get them soft. I don't like raw onions in my breakfast burritos. If you do, then you can maybe leave them raw. So the tofu is not raw or anything like that. It's safe to eat just as it is. When it comes out of the package, not very tasty, but some people like it. But what I want to do is heat it through, maybe give it a little bit of browning. Let the spices that are on it toast a bit. Before we start assembling. Now, if you wanted to do a variation on this, if you wanted to do like a Mexican-inspired, Tex-Mex sort of inspired breakfast burrito, instead of the tofu scramble seasoning mix that I've got here, you could use taco seasoning to season your tofu, and you could maybe add some black beans to the mix, some chili peppers. I don't add salsa into this mix either, because what I don't want is the burritos being mushy. But let me tell you, on a busy morning when you're running late, say you got to run out the door, you're getting your kids ready for school and there's no time for breakfast, having one of these that you can throw in your microwave if that's all the time you have for, or put in your air fryer or in your panini press or George Foreman grill, something like that, is awesome. They also make a great lunch if you want to take something to work. We are ready to assemble. Ooh, this place gets warm and steamy when I can't have the hood fan on when I'm cooking, which I don't have on because you guys would never be able to hear me. So what I've done is I've cut some squares of parchment paper to wrap these. And we are going to get started assembling our breakfast burritos. Oh, I know what I almost forgot. I have the Kala Namak, the Indian black salt, and I haven't salted anything, so I'm going to salt. I finally put it in a little sprinkle container. So I'm just going to add a little, maybe a little too much, into the tofu scramble mix. Give it a taste. Perfect. Now, if you're not looking for the eggy flavor, just leave that out. But I've let everything cool a little bit so I can work with it. And I've got my ingredients for assembly. So my tortilla. I'm going to put, some tofu scramble on there. Some hash browns. Some sausage. You can make these as big or as small as you want, but if you make it substantial, then you only need one. And some cheese on there. All right, and now just wrap your burrito and wrap it. Don't use wax paper. You want to use parchment paper here. And so I'm just going to wrap these, and then I'll put them in a bigger container bag and put them in the freezer. So that's one. So I'm going to fast forward here and see how many I can make. So the breakfast burrito, there's a rogue potato. It's toasted. So good. And I have 5 of these that I'm going to freeze. I'm just going to stick them in this. I saved the bagel bag from the last time I bought bagels, and I'll put them in here. And I'll put them in the freezer, and you can take about the night before. If you think of it, and if you don't, then you can put them in the microwave. They look like socks, but it's meal prepping. It's saving you time, making your life a lot calmer and more peaceful in the morning when you're in a rush, especially if you have a family, but even if it's just you. I love having something like this in my freezer, having it available for breakfast or lunch, because they make a great lunch as well. I'll often give myself a little dish of salsa, scoop on top with every mouthful, or some hot sauce. This is just a starting point. You can put whatever you want in there. If you don't want to use the Beyond sausage or the Impossible sausage or a plant-based sausage, maybe put some black beans in there. That would work as well. I hope you guys give this a try. Hope you're doing well. Remember, in a world where you can be anything, eat good food and be kind. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.